Hello everyone, this is Caroline. Today is a webcast. It is February 26, 2012. I hope everybody's having a good beginning of year. Today we will continue with our discussion, a little bit of an introduction on what is happening energetically this year, continuing from the year 2011. Let's begin with what is happening in general. A lot is happening. I've received a lot of questions, in fact, the last couple of weeks about what people are experiencing. I'm going to very, very briefly talk about the ascension part, because it has to do with some of the experiences you may be having at this time, and hopefully this will shed some light and will help you out in this way. So for those who are just joining or are still kind of new to this work, go back to the webcast of 2011, pretty much every single webcast of last year. I talked about how the ascension works, what it is, and how it is a multi-step, multi-layered, multidimensional process. It's not just one thing where we end our human life and we simply just kind of, just dissolve and go up in heaven and that's it. This is one way or one kind of approach or perception, but really, it's quite complex, and I'm not going to talk about the energetic or the mind channel forms of ascension, because that's the beginning part of the ascension. I'm going to just very briefly remind you about the physical ascension portion, which is usually the final steps of the energetic ascension. In other words, you begin to ascend in a very gradual manner, step by step, starting with energetic ascension, connecting to higher frequencies and things like that. Your mind channels begin to change. And then finally, it is the physical body, the physical ascension that takes place. So that's what I'm going to focus on today, and briefly remind you of what that means, what that entails, and how it really works. So the physical ascension could have three different forms. The one being, of course, what most people understand it to be, which is you simply cease to be in this human body, and you shed the human body, and you kind of leave the human form and go on to the next form. So this is one form of physical ascension. In other words, looking at it from a human perspective, it looks like you simply died, right? But what happens after that? Where do you go? So if you were to continue this, reincarnate into another human form, then you wouldn't go very far. You normally would simply stay within the earth plane, and you would hang out a little bit until you want to resurface in another human form. But this is not really ascension. What this happens is that you have simply finished first part or one part of your incarnation, and you are now transitioning in and preparing for the next part. So if that is the case, well, that's not really called ascension per se. You have simply translated into the next human form. When we call this type of transition ascension, is when you finish with this human form, you shed this human form, and then you go back to your original consciousness, basically at your original home. You don't stick around around the earth plane to prepare for another incarnation. So please make sure that you are not beginning to kind of position yourself or put yourself in one category or another. Please hear me out. Understand that there's no right or wrong. The fact that you stick around and come back could be extremely important, extremely useful for everything, for you and for collective consciousness and for the earth. Or not. I mean, it's like one is not better than the other. So So therefore, this is one way of ascending, is then you shed the human body. Everybody thinks you're dead, but in fact you elevate, you go back, you rejoin your original consciousness. Let's say you are originally from, I don't know, Pleiades or somewhere else in the galaxy or something. You go back and you are done with the human cycle. So that is one type of physical ascension. Another type of physical ascension is that you transition into another being, so to speak, while maintaining this physical form. And in fact, many of you are pretty much doing what I just said. This second part, the second type of physical ascension began especially to take place since last year, the end of last year. We talked about a window beginning November of 2011. So what would happen in this case, you would basically maintain your physical form, and as if you had two types of DNA or two types of software, if you will. And through this transition, you would basically switch the old DNA with the new DNA. And so now we are kind of on the other side of this transition, not quite yet, but it's getting there. And soon enough, you will start to switch programs. So for those of you looking at you will continue to look the same. You will continue to have the same body. So it looks like you continue to live, obviously, but you are changing the internal structure of your being. And so this is another form of ascension, and a very important one. And like I said, most beings are most of you, I think, and most beings are doing that and have been doing that and are doing that right now. Another third form, which is very, very, very rare, is that you get to a place of full mastery of the physical body, where you also can basically switch the old programming that is in your physical being. It's really a whole DNA switch, and you then arrive to a place of full mastery where you can either leave or stay. So for those looking at you, you still appear the same person, you still look the same, but you have the capability to transcend this shape and move it around and go to different areas. For example, let's say if I am, from the Pleiades or something, and I have achieved this level of ascension mastery, well, people looking at me will still see the same shape, the same form. They will feel something different, obviously, but I will be able to take this physical form and transmute it into other forms, or go back to my original home and come back, and so on and so forth. So I'm not going to get too much into these details, because this form of mastery is extremely rare and difficult to achieve. And this is really what we call the ascended master level, meaning you are capable of mastering the human form and do whatever you want with it, pretty much. Okay, so I believe most of you fall into the second category, although I'm not going to make any generalization here. So, and the reason why I'm talking about this is because what happens is that the internal switching of DNA is extremely, of course, it's gradual. Nothing happens in one day. It's not like on Monday you are this person, and then on Tuesday everything changes. It doesn't work this way. It never works this way, because you're multidimensional. So you have been preparing for this switch for a long time. You have begun this switch from starting November of 2011. You are in the middle of the switch, and most of you will complete this switch in March, and some of you will complete this switch in March, and most of you will continue the switch. In other words, Some will need 4 or 5 months to do the switching, and some people will need 2-3 years to complete the switching, you see. And so what happens is that as you are switching from the old DNA to the new DNA, all sorts of weird stuff start to happen. You start to have physical symptoms that are unusual. You start to experience certain things that you normally don't experience. And the signs that you are doing this switch are not immediate. It's almost like let's say you've already changed 75% of your being, let's say. This is when you start to feel that something's been happening. Something really, really fundamental to your being has been happening. Something very big has been switched. And so in this particular case, after this transformation has occurred, like I said, at least at 75%, you're going to start to feel not only just the typical physical symptoms such as very, very weird headaches, sometimes some bizarre palpitation, heart pounding. That's very strange. And of course, there's some forms of dizziness because that has to do with the mind channels being calibrated. I mean, in addition to these symptoms that I think are becoming typical by now, you also start to feel that the previous you is kind of another person. You start to feel through certain experiences that as you re-encounter certain similar circumstances, your reaction to these things is completely different, but not just that they're different, that you've evolved, different as if you are a different person. There is actually a personality switch, in fact, and you start to have those moments where you look back at the old way, the old you, as a different person, as if it were a past life in the same life. So these kinds of surreal experiences, these kind of strange kind of interaction with the physical reality will become more apparent. If you have had them already, then that's what it is. And if you don't think you should be having them quite yet, it is not there yet, but it's coming. You're kind of in the middle of it. That's why there's all this weird stuff going on. But they will become more and more apparent because you will become more and more the other person. All right? So that is basically what is happening, and that is the reason why a lot of weird things are being experienced right now in a physical sense within your physical body. So what also happens is that in this year, even though on a global level, there's a lot of things being also finalized. We talked about this, go back to the January webcast, and you will hear some of the comments on the global level. So even though the global consciousness is also switching and doing all sorts of things and splitting and transitioning and all that, it's interesting because this year is actually the year to begin implementing some of your true 3D creation. So because you are turning into the new you, truly becoming a new person, the planet also, we talked about the grid system becoming finally locked in by March of this year. This means that you will have access to creating the new ideas, the new reality more readily. But because the global consciousness is kind of still slow and thick and uncomfortable, there's kind of this interesting dichotomy that you have access to this new information, and at the same time, the global consciousness is thicker than ever before. So this is, though, your opportunity. If you've been doing this work, following this information, and truly working on yourself, you should be able to focus on this inner transformation and access these new frequencies within the earth plane that are becoming more and more available and recognizable, and retrieve these frequencies, use these frequencies to begin implementing your true 3D creation, wherever it may be. So last year, I was suggesting, some of your plans may be difficult to actually manifest. However, this year, I feel with this transformation is the beginning. Don't expect that in one day that, everything you've been dreaming about is going to be readily available. It is available, but you are not going to be able to or choose to manifest it in one day because you are still finalizing your own inner transformation. All right. So this is what's really happening on an I believe from an inner perspective, and also globally. Make sure, therefore, that you remain focused on who you are, what you're here to do, regardless of what is happening on the earth. In fact, what does it matter? What does it matter what others are doing, or what others are saying, or what others think, what is going to happen in the economy, whatever. What does it really matter? Don't forget, the economy is the old system, is the old paradigm, and you are turning into a new paradigm being. You are working with new paradigm information. You are working with new frequencies. So it's almost irrelevant. It's irrelevant to you, and so that's why this is an important reminder that you can still exist within this earthly reality, as old as it is, as thick and uncomfortable and slow or what have you, and you can still, more than ever before, create your reality if you understand the dynamics, if you understand where you are today, if you understand where the earth is today, if you understand how to tap into the frequencies, specific frequencies, and begin to implement your 3D creation. In fact, I'm doing a specific session on this month, in March. So look into the calendar and see if that interests you. All right. So I think this is it for now in terms of information. Hopefully this sheds some light as to what you have been experiencing, what you can do with this information, how you can continue to focus on who you are, what you want. Now, having said that, don't use this information to try to categorize yourself. You are where you are, exactly in the process where you need to be, and knowing that you have the capability of transcending the old paradigm you, becoming a new paradigm you, is pretty cool, I think. It's pretty exciting, and allowing that to happen, I think, will help you out rather than being lost and confused in all the information that's out there, and the confusing global energies as well. Okay?